Welcome to Speaking of Love, the podcast, with your host, LaToya. This podcast was created as a platform for spreading love. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Good afternoon. Today is Saturday. It is 12 o'clock noon, and we are here live on Speaking of Love, the podcast. I am so excited to be here today. I have a beautiful young lady here, Sandra. She's here all the way from Canada, and she is here on my podcast. She's an intuitive soul. She brings her own experiences into teachings, often working in the quantum space. She steps into high levels of awareness. Her tools facilitate healing for you over many aspects of the third, fourth, and fifth dimensions. Sandra's soul readings are literally spiritual how-tos and strong confirmation for the tools in her book, A Spiritual How-To. Please, everyone, help me welcome Miss Sandra Pelley to Speaking of Love. Hello, Sandra.
Hello, LaToya. Thank you so much. What a beautiful introduction. First of all, I really wanted to say thank you for the incredible compliment about this young woman, because I'm actually 57 years old, but I'm living life to the fullest.
Oh my goodness. I never would have guessed your age. You look absolutely beautiful, Sandra. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for being here. I just want to give a brief history about my podcast. Speaking of Love is a podcast that was created in honor of my father. My father, Herman McAlpin Jr., was a radio TV broadcast engineer for many years here in the city of Detroit. And my dad committed suicide back on March 2nd of this year. And I wanted to create a platform to honor him and to also spread more love in the world today. When people commit suicide, there's always a lack of love somewhere in their lives. And unfortunately, my dad had a lot of love around him, but because of things inside of him, he wasn't able to really be receptive to that love. So my aim, my mission, and my purpose for being here today is to just bring more love into the world. And to honor my dad, I am going to put his photograph right here at the top of our broadcast so that he will be looking down on us as we're doing this. So I'm going to put his picture right there. And without further ado, we're going to get right into the interview with Sandra. Hello, Sandra.
The energy of your dad coming in is so magical, so very, very beautiful, and it really prompts me to do something right off the bat with everybody that's here. So if you wouldn't mind just closing your eyes and breathing your way through my words, okay? So, I am love. I am loved. I am loving. I am lovable. I love me. I love you. I am divine love. And so it is.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you so much.
Wow. I'm just feeling totally like the hair on every part of me is standing up, because I could just really feel your father's presence in here, and the platform that you've created for him and with him is truly magical. So thank you from him for that.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So Sandra, tell me about your life before you became this intuitive soul. What was life like for you in your early years as maybe a young girl?
Well, redhead. You may not be able to tell now that I was a redhead back then, but I was a redhead. I was a female, a Leo, and truly was very much in making an effort to find my way in the world, and yet was being put down. The redhead is dead, this type of thing, and truly struggling with the things that teenage girls do struggle with. And that followed right through into my marriage even. Not that I had any, abuse or anything from my husband. I mean, he's a beautiful man. It was more about what I was doing to myself, in all honesty. It was about me saying negative things to myself, and really jumping on the bandwagon. If I heard other negative things about myself, I would just jump onto that bandwagon and be the biggest cheerleader for putting myself down. And, it was because of some major accidents that occurred in my life. I literally dislocated my pelvis in 2000. That opened up the doors for some real major spiritual awakening. And then over the next 16 years, I literally continued to have accident after accident after accident. And it's a long list, and there literally are in a spiritual how-to. It's in the back couple pages of my book. And then in 2016, I literally had another mountain bike accident and broke my pelvis, and went right from that into a broken collarbone and a frozen shoulder, and truly had to take a year off of my life when I had truly been finally discovering my path and discovering which way I wanted to go. However, I was focused so much on the mountain biking and proving I was capable of doing things that everything else became unimportant, and it should have been important. So this accidents that occurred in 2016 literally stopped me dead in my tracks and put me back on the path of self-discovery. Okay. So in 2000, when my pelvis was first dislocated, that's when I found that Western medicine was unable to help me, and I literally had to turn to holistic methods. And during that process, became a level 2 Reiki person, discovered orthobionomy, which is another form of energy work, a modality, and really started to figure out how energetic I was. But when my pelvis was broken and all the things happened in 2016, I was really guided to, okay, you need to actually step in and figure out who you are at a ground level. And that's where that I am love mantra came up, as well as another very profound mantra too. Now, do you mind if I breathe our way through this other profound mantra with you?
Yes, please.
Okay, so if you don't mind closing your eyes again, just because I feel so much more powerful when you have your eyes closed.
Okay.
I am open, with no expectations, no limitations, and being okay with the outcome. And so it is.
And so it is. And
Now,
so
how did that feel, saying that mantra, or hearing that mantra, breathing your way through that mantra, Latoya?
it feels freeing, and it feels like I can be more relaxed. I can be more at ease. I don't have to feel the weight of the world on my shoulders. Yeah.
Beautiful. I love that.
Now, Sandra, you've mentioned in your bio to me that there's a healer within us. Do you believe that you have a healer inside of you? And is that what helped you heal from all the various accidents that occurred to you?
Very, very much so. I recognized that we are always looking outside of ourselves for helpful influences. We're always asking other people's opinions. We're always looking to other people to love us. And it was
Yeah.
when I recognized that I needed to turn inside, that is when I realized that it was me that personally had to say enough is enough, and to start stepping into, what am I going to do to help myself? What am I going to do to heal myself? Because healing happens on so many different levels. It is the emotional, it is the mental, it is the physical. It is truly everything. And then with that comes the health, the career, and our relationships, right? It's really interesting because when we may feel that we're being loved from another person, but if we are unaware of how much we love ourselves, that love coming from other people is only a certain level. And when we start to love ourselves very deeply, especially with this I am love mantra, this is something that I've said on a daily basis. I write it in my morning pages. And in doing this and breathing my way through that I am love mantra, it actually shifts the energy. Like if you found any part of that very emotional, it is because your soul is recognizing that connection to those words. And therefore, it even means that it's more important to be saying this. It's when you develop that sense of peace as you're going through the I am love mantra that you will start to understand that you are actually starting to really truly love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Now, Sandra, what is the first step to loving yourself? Because I hear that a lot, and I hear people, they talk about, oh, I love myself, I love myself. But really, what is the first step to falling in love with yourself?
To stop saying negative things about yourself.
Mm,
Okay. And this
I
is
like
something
that.
that, yeah, this is something we all do. And it's a habit that we have to create. This isn't something that we do one day and then we just forget about it. We do this every single day. We are stepping into saying negative things about ourselves. And by negative things, I mean, oh, that was stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Or just such common little phrases we use, right? And when we use those common little phrases, it's actually sinking into the very essence of our being to a very deep level. So we have to work at now creating this incredible heart space, because we are so much in our brain, our mind, our egoic side of ourselves, that we have to overbalance in the other way and really say, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself, to such a beautiful degree. And that's why this I am love mantra and breathing your way through that is so very, very important. uh, so when you stop saying the negative things about yourself, it will actually shift your energy in a very profound way.
Now, why do you think that words are so important? Just being able to say, I love myself, speaking positive. Can you talk to me about the power of positive speaking?
Truly, what that is our brain, our egoic side of ourself, manifests, like it hears the words, but it doesn't understand the emotion and the feelings. Okay. That's why I talk about this overbalance. Our egoic side is very much about thinking, while our heart side is very much about feeling and emotions. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
when our brain is in control of us, then it has the power to take whatever words that we're saying and actually manifest that in our lives. Meaning that if we're constantly putting ourselves down, then our physical body feels in a lower place,
Mm.
because it's being told constantly that, oh, that was stupid. Oh, I'm an idiot. Oh, et cetera, et cetera. And I apologize for saying that word.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Um, but when we step into our heart space, and honestly, just even if you just think about this big heart in front of you and stepping into it, that feels good. It
It
feels
does.
better, right?
Even even visualizing it, like the way you said
Yeah.
it in your hand gesture, it did. It even feels amazing to step into a big heart.
Yes, yes. So this is why it's so very important to step into this heart space and the emotions that we're feeling. Because when we call ourselves something that's poor, or we say things that are very negative to ourselves, I want you to really feel into the energy of what that's doing for you, because usually it's lowering your vibration. You're lowering your frequency. And when you do this I am love mantra, or the I am open mantra, like you felt how you shifted up, and you just became lighter and more peaceful. The lower type of vibrations, when I'm talking about lower emotions and that, it's your grief. It's the um, grief, sadness, anger, despair, frustration, anxiety. All of those are very low frequency, low vibration. Well, when we step into the love type of things, it's a higher vibration. So it feels better, right?
Yes, yes, it does. Sandra, you've written a spiritual how-to book. Can you talk to us a little bit about what your book is about?
Certainly. I should have had it handy, and I apologize that I don't have the cover to show you guys. The A Spiritual How To was written because I went online and I hunted all over the place looking for answers when I was in so much pain physically and mentally because of my injury. I was at a point in my life where I felt very much less than a human being, and was actually very depressed, frustrated. I really didn't suffer from anxiety, but I was almost to the point where I was suicidal. I had young children at home. My son was 5 or 6 years old, or 9 years old, and my daughter was 3 years old, and I was unable to actually carry on as a mother, as a wife. I was unable to actually feel like I was a human being. So I was out there looking for answers and trying to figure this out. And that's where all of this healing began, was stopping saying the negative things to myself, the I am love mantra. And the spiritual how-to was written, in essence, around kind of what was going on in my life for those 16, 17 years, but also to provide a place for others to go and find some answers. I talk about, how does God fit into this? I talk about chakras. I talk about expectations, and the mantras as well, and how important breathing is, and all of these different things in there, so that people can honestly find a small book. I mean, you can read it in a couple days. You could probably read it in a day if you really had the wherewithal to do so. But when you take the time to read it, you can start to understand these small, simple steps that will help you to really start to understand the importance of who you are. Because I see the incredible person that every person out here is. It's that we are so focused on what other people see, we are unable to see how incredible we are ourselves, right?
Yeah, you're so right, because we all have the weight of the world on our shoulders. We're trying to work, we're trying to provide for our families, and at the same time, we're trying to keep our lives balanced. And it can be difficult at times, and we do have to remember to keep our thoughts positive, to keep our words positive, because just saying negative things about ourselves, it takes a toll on you, and it causes you to start to believe, yeah, I am dumb. Why did I do that? I'm so stupid. And you're right. Our words carry a lot of power, and we have to be careful.
Very, very much so. And it goes so much deeper, because if we are constantly saying negative things about ourselves, then the things that we truly desire are unable to come to us.
Mm.
Like, and that goes across the board. So if you're struggling in a relationship, if you're struggling in your career, if you have what you would consider a career, it could be your job, depending on what level you're at, your health, all of these things. If we start to speak more positively about ourselves, it's an absolute miracle what can happen. I mean, I have talked myself into good health. I was suffering with many, many, never mind all the injuries, but I was also suffering from things like UTIs and kidney infections and stuff. And I literally started to talk to my body and say, healthy body and healthy kidneys and healthy bladder. And honestly, every time that I'm going to get very, very upfront and personal here, but every time I sat down on the toilet, I spoke about every part of my body being very healthy. And I spoke myself back into health, right?
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
And this also works, Sandra, with animals too. I have a cat, and she's my baby. She's absolutely the center of my heart. And I've had her for about 10 years. And sometimes she can be very frisky. Like in the middle of the night, she wants to run around and jump and play. And it's like I can't sleep. So what I will do to her is I'll pick her up and I'll take her to the sofa, and I just gently talk to her and say, it's time to relax. You're a beautiful baby. We can play in the morning. And just my words, it turns her around. It gets her out of that feisty, that cat mode, and it puts her in a peaceful space just from speaking my words.
Beautiful example. Beautiful example.
Do you have animals, Sandra?
I have had in the past, yes.
Okay.
No longer have. They've passed away because of age. And now, given the way that we're living, we prefer to have the freedom without pets.
Of course. Sandra, you talk about your soul readings, and I want to know, can you give me an example of a soul reading and tell me what that is?
Truly, I would love to. In essence, I will use tarot and oracle cards. Okay. But I use them as portals. So when I get the deck, you have a choice of, I give you, okay, pick a number of whatever, and then I have X amount of decks, and from that number, that's the deck that is chosen, and then we shuffle it, clear the energy of that, And what I do is a reading around 8 main chakras. So starting with your root, your sacral, your solar plexus, your heart, your throat, your third eye, the pineal chakra, and the crown chakra. Then all of those get an individual reading around them. Now, each one of those chakras means something very specifically. Like your root chakra is all about grounding. Your heart chakra is all about that connection with nature.
Mm-hmm.
So when we do the soul readings, the information that comes through this, when I see the card, I look at, I really disregard all the words that are on the card. I may see the number of the card, which has some bearing because of numerology, but the words are the last things, if I'm even ever drawn to actually read the words. I read the card and what's on the card. And what's coming through with that is the information that your specific soul wants to know. Latoya, like if I was doing a reading for you, I would be connecting with your higher self and my higher self and our guides. And the information that would be coming through would be very specific to you. And it's being channeled through your higher self and your guides. And it's so magical because so many different things can occur. And usually these are very life-changing types of soul readings because they will give you the information you need to move forward in your life. Whether it's, go ahead, ask the question or make the
No,
comment.
no, that was going to be my next question. How do people, what is the benefit of a soul reading? So you were elaborating on that. You can go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So in essence, it will tell you, it will confirm if you are doing things beautifully in the I am love compartment. But if you are struggling in that, it actually will come through, and they will actually come through and give you divine guidance on, okay, this is the things that you need to do to move forward and begin to love yourself more. It will point out that maybe you have expectations, or maybe you have a limiting belief in an area. So it's very profound information that's coming through. And then as well too, oftentimes support will come through. For instance, maybe your father would come through and have some words of wisdom for you. And it's just, it's very, very, it's laid out very specifically because the basic reasons behind them. Like there's the grounding one, there's the creative one, there's the solar plexus is about our expectations and that ocean of emotion that's in there. And each of these areas, when you do a reading around each one of these, it has very specific information about how to ground, especially in a world that's going on like it is right now. So many people are really getting caught up in all the emotions and things. And when you get tools given to you that tell you how to ground yourself so that you're being less affected by what's going on around you, that's very helpful. If you get tools that from your solar plexus that are telling you how to step away from the anxiety and step into the excitement of something, it's just, each step of this is so very, very beneficial if you choose to actually do the work, right? It's the simple steps that we need to do, but so often we choose not to do them. We just want to be where we're at because it's comfortable. It's uncomfortable to make changes, but when you step into doing the changes, it's so profound what can happen. My life is a prime example of that.
Yes, Sandra, do you consider yourself to be an intuitive soul? At what age did you discover that you had this ability? And what do you love most about being an intuitive soul?
I want to start with the second part of that question. First of all, what I love about that is I'll be just going along in my normal day, and then I'll get this sense of something's going on. And it'll be very interesting because I'll be like, oh, somebody's in need of me right now. But then I step into that I am open mantra with no expectations, no limitations of being okay with the outcome. And I allow it to unfold in whatever manner that it wants to unfold. Instead of actively searching for that person, I just let that person show up wherever they are and however they want to show up.
Mm-hmm.
And when I do that, interesting things have happened. I actually used this example yesterday. I walked into a washroom and a woman was in there washing her hands. And earlier, like about an hour earlier, I felt this energy of, oh, somebody needs me. Didn't know where it was coming from, walked into this washroom an hour later, and here's this woman washing her hands. And as soon as I saw her, I felt this connection. And I'm like, oh, it's you. And she's like, okay, what's that about? And then I'm like, well, I'm getting a real strong energy of a pet. And as it turns out, she literally, she burst into tears, sadly. But what happened was, she had been thinking about a pet of hers that she had had as a child. And as it turns out, we were able to facilitate a healing around that event of that pet just in that moment, while standing in the washroom. It was so very, very powerful. So that's this intuitiveness that I have. And it happens with words when we're having conversations and that. And it could be just random going by places where there is residual energy that's left over as well. And that's another whole conversation. So where did this really start? You know, I think that I may have had it at a very young age. However, I had an incident occur that shut it down very dramatically. And I only recognized this as being an incident in the last year. I really truly discovered. I always had thought it was a TV show that my mom had let me watch. And it just felt really odd to me because the events in this TV show was about a mine that had collapsed, and a miner was being crushed. And I apologize to anybody who was affected by me saying this, but I honestly, I could see him. I could see the dirt on his face. The color of his hard hat, everything. Like, it was so profound, and I could hear his pain, his agony, and I literally shut down at that point. In hindsight now as an adult, I recognize that this was not a TV show that my mom was letting me watch, because can you imagine a mother letting her child watch a TV show like this? Like, that just doesn't happen in my world anyway. So I recognized that that was actually something that a vision that I had, that this had actually happened somewhere in the world. And that's where I was connecting into it. And it wasn't until more recently that my intuitive skills have started to amp back up. And it's because of my stepping into that, caring about myself and recognizing the different aspects of myself. Yeah.
Wow, that is so profound. You are definitely gifted in that regard. What is the greatest lesson that you have learned?
Oh, I was hoping you were going to put something else behind that. What is the greatest lesson that I've learned?
Yeah, what's the greatest lesson you've learned being in this capacity that you're in right now? Have you learned any life lessons
I truly have, actually. Thank you. It all really comes back to the multiple, like the hundreds of soul readings that I've done. I've really recognized how there was a very familiar thread running through all of these. And that familiar thread truly was where people were on that self-love journey. And recognizing that. And that's what's really kind of turned me towards being a trigger technician and a block and tackle coach, because I'm more able to recognize these little points that are happening in people's lives and helping to redirect them so that they understand how deeply rooted that this is, and that it's about themselves and not so much about other people. But then also too, that tackle part of it is the understanding which tools to use to start to move through that, such as the I am love mantra, such as the I am open mantra, but also rewriting the energy of things. So I think with the question was that, what's the biggest lesson here? It's how important it is to love oneself is truly the biggest lesson that I've learned here.
You know, speaking of that, you know, this podcast is called Speaking of Love. And on this podcast, the $1 million question that I ask all of my guests is, how do you define love, Sandra?
Wow. I define love as this incredible sense of being, this state of being. And when I breathe my way through that I am love mantra, I feel this incredible connection to my heart, to everything that I am, and it empowers me. It empowers me in a very visible, concrete way. Yeah.
Yes, Sandra, you are such a beautiful person. I know today is a beautiful day. We all wake up in the morning and we have an agenda in our head. Is there something that you do every morning to get your day off on the right path, like a ritual?
There is, actually. I actually follow the I can't remember the name of the who brought it. Julia is her first name. Morning pages is what I do. Every single morning I write morning pages, and I write 3 pages of morning pages. It often takes me about half an hour to 45 minutes. And I literally breathe my way through my mantras as I'm writing them in there. And I purge whatever's in my soul. I purge it on my morning pages so that I'm starting the day fresh. I talk about yesterday and the incredible things that have happened. I speak in gratitude on these pages, and I ask questions on these pages. And it's really incredible what unfolds on these pages. And because of that, the first 3 lines that I write are good morning, beautiful planet, world, Gaia. It is a beautiful day, and I am grateful and blessed. And so it is. And just writing those sentences sets up the whole day for a magical rest of the day.
Wow, that is beautiful. Phenomenal. Such an inspiring person. I am just so happy that you're here. Sandra, as you have come about in your profession and your spirituality, is there a person in your life, either past or present, who has inspired you to be the woman that you are today?
You know, there's so many. There truly are so many. And I think, too, it was a commitment to the man that I married. We've been married now for 30, let's see, 2020, 36 years, coming up
Wow.
to 37 in May of 2021. And it was that recognizing those moments of recognizing what I wanted and expectations. And when I recognized what my expectations were in my marriage, because our marriage was going down very rapidly and into a very horrible state. And I actually sat down with a pen and paper and wrote down, what are my expectations in my marriage? And when I did that, I was actually able to recognize then what I wanted in a marriage. However, what I wanted in a marriage may not have been what my husband was capable of giving me. So I actually speak about letting go of expectations. And every time that my expectation around my marriage came up, I would go, you know what? Stop that. That's my expectation on the marriage. Expectations are like boulders in a river. They get in the way of the water and life flowing the way it wants to flow. So what I did was, every time my expectation in our marriage came up, I would say, okay, enough of that. I'm going to be okay with whatever he's able to give me. And it was so profound, the shift in our marriage and how much better our marriage became, because I was able to let go of my expectations of our marriage. Right. So I think my husband was a huge learning tool for me. I missed that. Sorry, you'll have to repeat that.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, it looks like you were fading out a little bit. Now, Sandra, that's very.
Oh no, you froze again. Oh no.
Okay, so we are back here live. I sincerely apologize to everyone who's watching this broadcast. For some reason, this technology can be very iffy at times, but we are back here with my guest, Sandra, and she is a soul reader. She's an amazing person. She is on the spiritual journey, and she has been here today helping us learning. We're learning about love. We're learning about mantras. And Sandra and I, we were discussing expectations before we were so rudely interrupted. So now we can go back into talking more about expectations, Sandra.
For sure. Expectations are truly like a boulder in the river, just so that we can bring everybody on board again. When we put a boulder in the river, the water can no longer flow the way that it would love to flow. It actually has to try to figure out how to get around it. An expectation in our life is exactly the same. It is a boulder in the middle of our life, and it creates a block for the things that we would love to have coming to us. So when I talk about expectations, I'm going to give you an example. When we were in the process of manifesting the life that we're currently living, we knew we wanted a truck. Except that we had some things that we would like that truck to be, but we had no real expectations of what this truck would be. On the other hand, so some of the things that we laid down for this was that we wanted it to be a 4x4. We wanted it to be an extended cab. We wanted it to be in this price range specifically, and we didn't say a specific price, but a price range. Okay, notice that, and that we wanted it to be low mileage. Okay. So we went out and we were driving, like we test drove probably 30 or 40 different trucks, all different colors, all different brand names, etc. And one morning while writing my morning pages, a green truck came into mind. And I'm thinking, oh, wow, that's interesting. Okay, so I have no expectations. I'm living my life with no expectations, no limitations, and being okay with the outcome. Except that I want to have a new truck. I want it to be low mileage, low price, like a price range of here. It didn't matter what brand it was, but we would want it to be an extended cab and a 4x4. So we went out and we were looking at the different vehicles. And now I had this green truck in mind, that it might possibly be green. So my husband went to the city, 3-hour drive away, to look at a truck. And the truck ended up being a 2x4 rather than a 4x4. So he was like, okay, that was the wrong truck entirely. He turned around, he was headed back to our town, and he had to go through a number of towns to get back to our town. And on that route, he actually went by a car dealership that had a green truck for sale in it.
Wow.
He phoned me immediately and said, can you get in touch with these guys? Because it was closed that day. And leave a message, ask some questions about this truck. Well, literally the next day, we bought the truck. And it was low mileage, the price range we were looking for. It was an extended cab, and it was a 4x4. So this is what I mean. Like we can have some things that we would like to have happen, but don't put specifics into those expectations. So for instance, when we have our children and we want our children to have this good life, don't put an expectation on them to be a doctor, or to be a ballerina, or to do something that you want them to do. Put out the desire, the dreams that you want your child to be happy and to live life to the fullest and enjoy their life and have relationships with ease and grace, rather than I want them to be married to this type of man, putting a religion possibly even on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or a gender even on it. Like just being open to letting whatever comes through come through, so that they can live the life they would love to live, rather than what your expectations are on them. So now if I had gone into looking for this truck and then I had said that I wanted a Ford specifically, we're Ford people ourselves. The truck's a GMC. We bought a GMC, but we're Ford people. It served our purpose in the time. If we had put it out there, we wanted only a Ford, then Lord knows how long we would have been on that journey looking for that truck specifically. Okay. So be very, very aware of what you're putting out there that you desire. Okay, so I'm going to give you another example, I guess is be the word. I'm going to give you another example of that. My husband was working in a job that was really kind of not his favorite place to be. And he knew that he wanted more pay, and he knew that he wanted a truck, a vehicle provided by the company. Okay, so he was putting it out there. He was, he had told me that he wanted this. He was putting it out there that he wanted this, and he got it. He got a job change, but it ended up being moved to a different location. And now he had a 30-minute extra drive one direction to do this. So he did it for about a week and realized that this wasn't what he wanted because of this extra hour of travel timing. So really recognizing that, yes, we can get specific, but not having expectations on there. So he put it out there that he would much rather have a shift in pay and have a vehicle that he can drive, but that he was in the same similar location, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so just really kind of getting, I would say kind of specific, but not so specific that the things that want to come to us are unable to come to us. Okay.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Sandra, can you tell us again where we can find your book and the
Oh, I
title?
actually grabbed it.
Oh
So
yeah, I want.
this is the book, A Spiritual
Okay.
How-To. It is available on Amazon's. Okay. And this is a picture of an owl on the front. So hopefully, I know there's some people that dislike owls, and other people are like, owls are their totem animals. So they absolutely love that. And what's really interesting is in the morning pages, I spoke about writing my morning pages. I've been doing that for almost 5 years now. On a daily basis. And in the morning pages, like I said, I talk about things, I ask questions, I doodle, and all sorts of things. And that actually provided me with the material in some cases to write and to not to write, but to go back and go through my morning pages and pull a book out of my morning pages. Okay. And all the doodling that I did was in my morning pages as well. So I'll just show you, for instance, bear with me here a moment. There was a picture that I wanted to show you specifically. So in 2000, I actually stepped off the stepladder, and that's what started my journey more profoundly on the spiritual path. And in stepping off the stepladder, it was quite dramatic because my one foot was 2 steps up, and my bottom foot landed on the ground and dislocated both sides of my pelvis. So I doodled a little drawing there. And that's me stepping off the stepladder.
I love it. Oh, I love that. That's so nice.
Yeah. So I've got all kinds of little drawings. Yeah. So that's available on all the Amazons anyway. And just so you're aware, it's self-published. So that means that it is print on demand. And if you can't find it in one area, just go through the things, because it's definitely available on Kindle, and then it's available in hardback and paperback, and just look for it. When you bring up my name, you'll find it in there. You can bring up my name on Google and find me as well, and find the book that way.
Now, Sandra, what if someone wanted to reach out to you for a soul reading? How would we get in contact with you?
Literally, go on soul reading. Sorry, not a soul reading. You can email me at thesandini@gmail.com is one way. thesandini@gmail.com.
I'm going to put that in the comments here.
For sure. So it's just like the, yeah, at gmail.com. So the SANDINI at gmail.com. And you can also find me on Google, truly, or look up my name on on Facebook. My name, look up my name. If you look up my name in any search engine, you'll find it everywhere. You'll find it in many, many places, because I'm starting to be really, I speak with people all over the world. So my spread is a lot further now,
Wow. Yeah. Your positivity and your spirituality has reached such great distances. What does the future hold for you? Do you have any upcoming projects, or what can we look forward to next for you?
Well, I have a couple, I have a signature program called Empowering the Healer Within, which really helps you in a 2-part series. The first part is where we really talk about everything that we've been talking about today on this show: the self-love, the self-care, the expectations, the limiting beliefs. And then we actually start to dabble too with the energy, like feeling energy. Like if you rub your hands together just gently and then pull them ever so slightly apart, you can feel energy. So I talk a lot about being an empath. Yeah. Okay. So just gently, and then just pull ever so slightly apart.
Yeah. Yeah.
You feel the energy in that? Yeah.
I feel that. Yep. I do.
And now we could actually pass that back and forth, that energy, and allow it to grow and expand, and then pass it out to wherever it's needed in the world. It's so beautifully magical. Like, we're all connected in this energy. So that's what the first 4 months in Empowering the Healer is all about, is really getting in touch with who you are and starting to stand in the power of who you are, rediscovering your passions that you had as a child, and really working through a lot of the blocks and triggers that are really possibly causing you to be stuck in a place right now. The second part of that program is all about empowering the healer within you to another entire level. And that's where you are actually actively facilitating healing through learning a number of modalities that I teach, called pyramid power, or possibly quantum space, quantum healing, and a number of other types of modalities as well. And then we actually take that a step further and start to heal ourselves as well. And it's this beautiful mindset of shifting. And really, when I talk about empowering the healer within, a number of reasons that we're so stuck on where we're at and unable to heal ourselves is because we are thinking that we're not worthy of being healed. And that's where that self-love comes in again. Notice how it just keeps coming back around to that love. You've got such a beautiful platform for this here.
Yeah, it just keeps coming back full circle. Love is the most powerful element in the whole world, and it brings people together. It makes connectivities, and it's just a beautiful word. And people often use the word love, but they don't really know what it means.
Exactly. Exactly. Even that profound part where, where you see people walking around and they have their arms clasped around them, and they are attempting to give themselves a hug, but they're unaware that that's what they're doing. They're looking for love. They want love, but they're unsure of how to bring that into themselves in a much more profound way. So let's take a moment right now and just do that I am love mantra again, because we've started up again. But hug yourself this time and feel the love that you have for yourself while we're doing it. Okay? So, I am love. I am loved. I am loving.
I am loving.
I am lovable.
I am lovable.
I love me.
I love me.
I love you.
I love you.
I am divine love.
I am divine love.
And so it is.
And so it is.
Yes.
And so it is. And so it is. Sandra, when the pages of your life are reviewed, what do you want to be remembered for? What's the legacy you're leaving behind?
Helping people make a difference in their own lives and empowering themselves. I gave them the tools. I provided the tools to help them empower themselves.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Sandra, it's been a blessing to have you here. I have really enjoyed our time together. Before we wrap up, is there anything else that you would like for our audience and our viewers to know?
That each one of you are so magical, so absolutely incredible. And if you are struggling at all with anything in your life, truly start to understand that you have the power within yourself to start to make a difference in your own life. Start with the I am love mantra, because that is the best place to start. It is truly the simple step of recognizing that you don't need to climb the mountain. You only need to make one step to make a difference in your life today. And do it
Wow.
with that one step. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for blessing my platform with your positivity and your spirituality. And I just love you so much. I thank you for being here and I bow to your excellence. Thank you for being on Speaking of Love. And this will conclude my 27th. This was my 27th episode. So
I
it's such
love
a
that.
blessing. Yes, this is number 27. And I will be back here next Saturday at 12 o'clock noon Eastern Standard Time with another episode of Speaking of Love, the podcast. For those of you that want to reach out to my wonderful guest here, Sandra, her email address is thesandini@gmail.com. And that's the Sandini, SANDINI, at gmail.com. And you can also look for her. I have her information in the comments here. You can reach her that way. So thank you all very much. It's been a beautiful day. If you have missed any part of this broadcast, it will be up live on YouTube. It's going to be on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever podcasts platform you prefer. It's going to be there. So I thank you all so much. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.